everyone, and thank you for joining. Before we get started, I think I've given everybody permission to record as you've come in. Is there anybody that needs it that doesn't have it? Okay. Thank you all again for joining us. Thought it would be good to get together and maybe for once we could talk about a football game. And a lot of speculation as to whether we would get this to this point, but we're 48 hours from there, and so far it's looking pretty good. So what we'll do first is I'm going to have Tony Workus, who is our Associate Athletic Director for Events and Facilities. He can talk a little bit about our plan for Saturday, key things to remember. You can ask any questions, and then we'll turn it open to Jim. So Tony, you're up.
Good. So some of the things you'll notice different from previous years is parking lots are going to open 3 hours in advance of kickoff instead of at 8 a.m. like they have in years past. So one of the big takeaways from that is, one, we want fans to arrive early to the game. However, we don't want anyone to arrive earlier than 3 hours out. Also, when you do get here at 3 hours, there is no tailgating that's permitted. So we're asking everyone to leave tents, grills, everything like that at home. Since they will not be allowed to gather in any of the green spaces on campus or parking lots and tailgate. Once you arrive, we're also asking everyone to wear masks, so those are required. So any of the regular similar campus guidelines with a mask, a cloth face covering of some kind are permissible. However, we are not allowing face shields. So again, this is in line with the rest of the Mizzou campus on what is permissible as a face covering. We are also going fully mobile tickets this year is another big change. So with that, we're asking everyone to download the Mizzou Athletics app in advance, download their tickets, make sure they have everything before they arrive to the game. We will have some mobile help stations outside of the four corners of the stadium at gate 6E, 3E, 2W, and 6W in case anyone has issues. But if they're able to troubleshoot that in advance, they can call in either today or tomorrow if they are running into any issues downloading tickets. But the best thing to do is to try that in advance rather than trying to do that all right before you walk in the gates. And then also, once anyone's leaving the parking lots and as they're approaching the gates, there's going to be a number of zones to the stadium. So Nick, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you should be. Yep.
So you can see there's a number of different zones that everyone is being assigned for their tickets. So it will be printed on the ticket, and then also this map will be on wayfinding signage as you're leaving the parking lots heading into the game. So the different colors and numbers you'll see are posted on all of the gates. There's a number of sidewalk stickers, so we're doing everything we can to make sure it's very clear of everyone's point of entry. So within the zone, there's going to be identical concession menu. You're going to have restrooms available. So the idea is everyone has access to the exact same amenities by staying within their assigned area. The reason we're doing this is we're trying to eliminate as much crossover traffic as we can by having everyone stay within those designated areas. When you're inside of the stadium, if you're walking on the concourse and you see two different zone areas, say you're walking at a section and you're going to cross from zone 1 into zone 2, you'll actually see signage on the floor and on the pillars noting it's a zone split, so that way everyone knows exactly where those are when they're in the stadium. So when you're arriving at the gate, again, we want everyone to follow the zone signage to get to the correct area. We'll scan the mobile ticket at that point, and we are discouraging bags as well. So the reason we're trying to get rid of bags as best we can is to eliminate touch points. In the event someone chooses to bring a bag, the clear bag policy will still be in effect. But again, we're really trying to reduce those touch points to suggest that everyone leave a bag at home unless they absolutely have to. But again, if they do choose to bring one, it will be the clear bag policy in place. And then throughout the stadium, we'll have additional hand sanitizer units, so near every concession stand that's open, as well as in some designated areas like elevator lobbies and other spaces, so that way everyone can frequently sanitize their hands. And we're doing everything we can for certain areas. If there's touch points, we will either be regularly wiping them down, or in areas where we can prop doors and eliminate those touch points, we're doing that when feasible. I think that's the general overview of what we're looking at for this year.
Tony, maybe talk about the press box on the 6th floor.
Yep. So the West Tower We are operating the elevators a little bit differently to try to move everyone more efficiently. So for the suite holders, we're putting the elevators in override, and then we're limiting the capacity, so that will be reduced to about 50%. The elevator capacity varies since all of the elevators throughout the stadium are different sizes, but in general, we're going to go about 50% is what we're shooting for. For accessing the 6th floor, it will still be the same using the express elevator that's located inside of Gate 5W in the southwest corner of the stadium. When you get up to the 6th floor, there will be hand sanitizer available in different areas throughout the press tower. And then also there's going to be plexiglass barriers between some of the seats. So the front row is going to be, the seats are going to be further apart. And then the back row has a 3-sided barrier around it. And the reason for the 3-sided barrier is so that way it protects it. There's not the 6 feet necessarily from the second row to the first row. And so that's why we put that barrier in there. And then also you have a barrier from both sides of you.
Any questions for Tony on what a reimagined game day will look like at Mizzou this year?
Tony, I have a question. Brooke Grimsley with News 4 in St. Louis. So what does the staffing look like? Did you guys have to kind of amp it up a little bit with all these different zones? And what is the game day staff going to look like for fans that will be attending and helping them through these zones and situations?
So our game day staffing levels are higher than they usually would be for a full capacity stadium. And that being said, again, we're looking at more of the 11,000 range versus 65,000. So that really is a significantly higher level with the ratio of staff to guests that will be at the games. Part of that is coming into play with the gates. We're trying to make sure we eliminate any lines at the gates. So we are going to have everything we can possibly open to move people through as quickly as possible. Because I think that's one of the big concerns is making sure we're eliminating all of the bottlenecks we can to speed up service.
Tony, really quick, Colin O'Brien here. I'm guessing that 3 hours parking lot's open. That's also for media, right? That's the earliest media can get to the stadium.
Correct. So all of the lots are planning on opening 3 hours out. Nick, if that's something we need to revisit on, we can.
No, the press box doesn't open until 3 hours before, so that's
Okay,
good.
perfect. There we go.
Tony, you also mentioned ticket sales. How are those looking right now, 48 hours out, and it's 25% capacity, right?
It's about 20% and they're sold out.
11,700 will be the official attendance.
Okay, great. That's a great showing.
Yeah, we could sell a heck of a lot more.
Tony, could you maybe talk about the field and the restricted access on the field too for people?
Yep. So with a lot of the SEC restrictions, you're going to see a lot less people that are on the field. So there have been specific parameters outlined of who has access to the field during the game. That's including both team-wise as well as a lot of our internal staff. The team box will be bigger, so that's something you'll notice if you're looking at the field. The team will actually have a lot more space to spread out, so you'll notice the field markings have changed just outside of the field of play. And then also there's going to be assigned areas for any of the people that are approved on the field. So that way we're making sure to keep everyone physically distanced as best we can. And then along those lines, you'll also see that we're not allowed to have the spirit squads be on the field. So the cheerleaders, the Golden Girls, Truman, will be just off the field level behind the wall in what's normally the bunker club area.
Additional questions for Tony? All right. Tony, you're free to go, or you can stay on and we'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just thanks for being on today. You know, it's exciting to be just close to 48 hours away from 2 days away from finally playing. You know, we've been targeting this for a long time and a lot of preparation. As you heard from Tony, all the changes, it's almost completely different. The band won't be playing at halftime or before the game on the field. And so there's just, you know, everything from start to finish will be different. They really trying to do it in a safe and respectable way for everyone. but still have a great event and expect a great game on Saturday. So with that, I'll let fire away with any questions.
Hey, Jim. Well, Nick kind of mentioned it at the beginning. It feels like we are really never going to get to this point. All these precautions aside, how does it feel for you to finally get to this point? Game day at Faroe Field. How does it feel?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, this morning. It's emotional because all the work and preparation and trying to get to this point and questioning of what the SEC is doing and for a while there we were seen as the big bad guys having football and we're actually now one of the last coming on. So you still have the Big Ten and Pac-12, but it's really it's rewarding. Heck of a lot of work, and I just want to thank all the people that, from the doctors to the university to administration, Dr. Choi and all of the folks that helped get to this point, because it did take a village to get to this point, and collectively we've done I think the SEC has done a great job of being a leader that way of getting to this point. So it's I'm excited.
Jim, that 11,700 number, how much can that change through the course of the 5-game home schedule?
It could with science if the CDC changes things as far as the distancing. If something unforeseen right now changes, so right now we'll see it could go up or down, I guess, if people don't take it seriously as far as how we conduct the game and how are we required to do it. That's important as well as positive tests causing us to not have it down the road, or good things happening where there's new science, new breakthroughs, over the course of the, until December when we're playing. And so there could still be a lot of changes and pivots as we go through.
Hi, Jim. What, I guess, do you think of the job that Eli did just kind of navigating this whole pandemic in his first year?
I think, really great job. I think, he's got a lot of great staff around him, some veterans, and I've said he's wise beyond his years, and he understands it. He understands people, and it was a challenge to keep the players together, in the spring, and then or just when he was hired, to retain the players and retain the coaches that he did. That was important. So it's culminating now. We're dealing with a lot of things that beyond his control. For instance, the 5 scholarships from the NCAA as far as limiting that way, and then COVID taking out some opting out, and so he's down to a smaller number than he would like, but I can tell you that they'll be excited to play, and they're working at it together.
Jim, to make all of this happen for the game on Saturday, what was it like working with the SEC? Because I know the SEC kind of left it up to the schools and institutions to kind of make all the rules and stuff like that. They had blanket rules. What was it like working with the SEC, and what all did you guys have to do to fully prepare the staff and everybody for game day?
Ooh, that's a mouth. That's a long. I'd have to talk quite a while, but I think in short, it was some of the things we dealt with collectively. For instance, the band and cheer, and how we conducted testing, and how those were things that collectively were done. But where it separated was when you dealt with the local health departments, the CDC and the regulations there. So that's probably where the line of demarcation was, as far as that's where they had to allow the 11 states that house the 14 schools. They had to allow them to work, each of us to work through those issues, and then the campus as well. So that's where it started and stopped, but a heck of a lot of work on all of that, and coordinating, with the SEC, and then coordinating with your counterparts across the conference.
Hey Jim, with that 11,700 capacity, and I know you've mentioned all summer about how you've had multiple contingency plans for capacity, but I guess financially, how much does it help just to have even just a few fans in attendance just going forward?
Well, it helps, and we had looked at a 20% reduction in revenue, but that impact it's really an 80% reduction in the ticket revenue when you look at the capacity and difference. So that's something that we're going to have to work through. Ticket sales are one of the larger revenue sources for us, so it was important to have some, and important to have our premium, where a lot of those ticket sales and donations go to pay for the south end zone or the east side or the west side renovations that have been in debt service. So that's really important. It's not just this year. It's impacted. Those things were in our budget to pay for as well. So those are all factors that why it's important. But I think when you get to go as an athlete, you want to play, and we heard that loud and strong from our athletes in the spring, and that they want to play and they wanted to get to this point. So I'm excited, from that standpoint. So that's probably the most important. Can we do it safely? Can we do it in a way that keeps them safe? And I think I've said it to you guys before. Probably the safest place will be on the field. And as far as catching COVID, because all those folks that are on the field have been tested three times that week alone. So it'll be a pretty good environment to play a game.
Jim, piggybacking off of that, you said that people on this field is going to be the safest. I know you're creating kind of a bubble around the south end zone to allow both the teams to come in safely. Are there any other specific measures that you or the stadium is taking to ensure that bubble on the field or whatever can be tight-knit throughout the game?
Well, just the sanitizing of the facilities, each day, and they go through, and as well as the visitors, things that we've done before, like, the Tiger Walk. We can't do those kinds of traditional type of things, and it varies per school, but those are probably the big things. The testing is important, and so I think all of those combined create an environment where it's pretty dang safe. We're not allowing people in the bunker club. Those are just going to be cheerleader, and spirit squad down there, and so we had to make changes. Some of it impacts a lot of it impacts revenue, but it's to make it as safe an environment as we can.
Jim, do you know the number or the percentage of your season ticket holders who are using their tickets this year as opposed to pushing them forward to 2021?
I don't know exactly. We've had to limit season ticket holders on the use. I heard early on when we sent something out as far as renewals, it was in the 20 to 25% range, wanted to defer to next year. So I don't know if that may have gone up, or people may have changed their mind and opted back in, but I think it was around that early on when we started the reseating of the stadium.
Jim, my apologies. This might have actually been a better question for Tony, but maybe you could help me out. How is seating exactly going to work on the Rock M? And just, it's kind of been sit wherever with your towels in the past, but how is it going to work when there isn't specific numbered seating and distance and just chairs and everything like that there?
Yeah, and actually Nick can help me with it, but there are, if you look at it right now, there's some some zones they're creating, and the students will be the ones. We're not having general admission there. It's student seating, and we're trying to keep them in pods, if you will, social pods there, and so we'll see how it goes the first game, and we may need to make adjustments from it, but that's limited. I think normally it's like 4,500 or something that we could sell in there, and it may be like 800 in there. Nick, you may know the exact numbers.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's if you think of Central Park, you'll see a bunch of squares down there on the grass for people to be at for the game. So think of the big circles that were in Central Park, and there's a bunch of squares. They just started drawing them or painting them in today. So we were just over there at the stadium a little while ago.
Jim, as far as enforcement for these procedures goes, I know Moon Choi said earlier today he was going to be at the stadium walking around, making sure people are wearing masks and stuff. But will there be physical barriers or people to limit movement between the zones in the stadium, or is there just signage saying, turn back here, you're going to a different zone?
No, we're going to need a lot of cooperation from there. There won't be those kinds of barriers between those zones that Tony outlined. I think that just helps keep us within areas that we can track people. It'll with digital tickets, it'll be on their their color code will be on their phone, or so that's that's really not enforceable, if you will. But I think with just 11,000 people spread throughout the stadium, I think we can create an environment where people feel safe. And we had Dimensional Innovations, and that's a group that helped with Tony and planning of how do we go about trying to keep socially distanced in there. You'll notice at the concession stands, there's circles on the cement of how far to stay away and all that. So plexiglass, a lot more. I think we spent a ton on plexiglass, putting in the stadium, a couple 100,000, I think, of plexiglass throughout the stadium in different locations. And so just different things you'll notice, but we'll need everyone's cooperation. Obviously, they'll need to have a face covering to get in. And then we need them to keep it on and unless they're eating or drinking, and so that'll be important as well. So just a lot of encouragement, we need a lot of help from everyone in order to have fans at future games.
Jim, as far as enforcement for tailgating, obviously you guys have said there will be no tailgating this year. Will there be people kind of, watching around the parking lots, making sure no one's congregating at the back of cars, before they head into the game, that type of thing?
Yeah, it's not, it's someone said it's like the no smoking rule. You give them one warning and say, hey, put that away, and it'll be like that. I mean, obviously, people will talk and families will be together. And so, yeah, we want it to be a safe environment. And so having where we could really dictate is, no tents, no grills, those kinds of things where people then would gather. And so there'll be, smaller groups, and at any certain time that might happen, but it's not something where we will, if we see something, we'll encourage them to break up and move along. And I think we have a special on concessions before half price on certain items. That'll be announced in the next day here, and things like that to encourage people to get into the stadium and not stay outside.
All right. Anybody else going once? Twice?
You need a question for Nick Jose.
No,
come on.
No questions. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that was beneficial to you. We look forward to seeing many of you on Saturday, and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.